Kilgrave leaves a trail of broken people behind him.
He made me jump for hours as high as I could. He said I was never as good as you.
He's back. He's coming for me.
Let's start now.
No!
Jessica, I'm the only one who matches you.
The tension is too much! Start the show!
Can't believe the doctor is ordering that girl from Breaking Bad around. Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cording-cutting revolution so that you can watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, how you want, on whatever device you want. I feel like I've heard that before. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and more importantly, that was someone a.k.a. Jessica Jones, man. I cannot wait. I'm so stoked for it. November 20th, right? And I believe last week we were pimping Netflix's With Bob and David, which is, the 14th. They're just maggoty. They're maggoty with awesome franchises all over the place. I'm going to move to Netflix.
Jones, the key thing for that about me is that it feels like Daredevil without feeling like Daredevil. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely the same universe, and I recognize that, and it's meant to be, but it doesn't look like, oh, it's just a rehash with Jessica Jones instead of Daredevil.
Well,
like,
and plus
I can't wait.
It sounds like she's got a different backstory, a different set of skills, and her own baggage. You know, like Matt Murdock is a fairly baggage-free individual, where it's like I sense some real darkness about Jessica Jones that I'm can't. If you guys know, don't tell me about it. Instead, we should turn all of our attention to our fantastic guests.
Jaime Ruiz-Avila, cord cutter, scientist, adventurer. Welcome to Cordkillers.
Well, thank you, Tom. I'm glad to be here.
Heck yeah. And by the way, we should say long-time patron. We've often called him Don Jaime of the Diamond Club. If you have enjoyed any of our adventures over the last year or two, understand that Jaime has been a tremendously large part of... I don't want to say this is like, you know, your obligations to invite your biggest bosses to your company Christmas party, but, you know, it might be a little bit kind of like...
And to be clear, Brian calls him Don Jaime because Brian mistakenly thought his name was Donald.
Yeah.
Yeah, apologize. Actually, I thought it was D-A-W-N, and that he identified as a female, and then it got awkward.
Tony Orlando and Don Jaime.
Exactly.
Yes. It's a common mistake.
It's something that happens to you quite a bit. No, but you follow this stuff. You watch a lot of shows, and because you travel all over the world, literally, you have to get creative about how you watch them. I know.
Yes. No. It's always a challenge to manage to get your Chromecast or Roku to play on a hotel and stuff like that. But somehow everything kind of eventually gets to me. So.
All right. Well, we got some good stuff to talk about today. Let's start it off with our primary target.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's funny. Somebody pointed out, because I always disclose that my wife works at YouTube, and people, you know, start to make fun of that because it happens so often. And somebody's like, it's like a canary in the coal mine, though. Like the day you don't disclose it, people are going to know she quit. Oh. But my wife works at YouTube. And in fact, she works on YouTube Originals, which is part of this story. YouTube Red is launching in 2 days from this recording, October 28th. YouTube Red, despite its questionable name selection, will not include things found at other tubes named Red. It's just all of the things you normally get on YouTube, but without commercials. That's its big pitch. But it also gives you the ability to pull videos down for offline viewing. It also gives you access to Google Music and YouTube Music Key, which will become just called YouTube Music and get its own app eventually. It also will give you exclusive access to YouTube Originals launching in 2016, which I kind of want to run through in a little bit, see what you guys think of those. But that includes things from the Fine Brothers, PewDiePie, Rooster Teeth, etc. 98% of creators have signed up. There are a few outliers. One of them is ESPN because of its contracts with sports leagues, some of which prevent it from being part of a subscription, some of which don't allow them to pull the to pull the ads off, don't allow for offline viewing, etc. So ESPN is actually pulling down its YouTube videos from YouTube right now in advance of YouTube Red. But what do you think, Ryan, as a consumer? $10 a month, for all of the stuff?
Okay. Man, that's tough. $10 to essentially just remove ads. And the problem is YouTube has made, I believe, a fairly painless ad-driven experience. I think the ability, they're the ones who innovated or as far as I know, with the ability to skip ads 4 seconds in by keeping them to 15 seconds, 30 seconds long tops, and then, one at the beginning, one at the end, maybe. So I don't feel the pressing need to crush ads with YouTube the way I did with Hulu. With Hulu, it's like, get ready. Like once it explained, like ad 4 of 6, hang in there. Only 2 more minutes to go. It's like there was very much like this experience is broken and I need to pay some amount to fix it. The offline viewing, I don't personally have a lot of demand for that, but I also don't experience all my music through YouTube the way, pretty much everyone under 20 does. And I think that could be a powerful thing. Unfortunately, if you're under 20, you probably don't have $10 a month to blow on something like YouTube.
But offline viewing isn't just about music. Offline viewing is about videos as well.
Yes, that is correct. And I would be really interested, I guess, especially in the recent announcement, was it the Paramount Vault, where they have all these you have more players in the full movie space, and all of a sudden you can get classics and as Cargill calls it, hot garbage in there. Mm-hmm. The name, and I don't want to do the obvious thing. Yes, YouTube Red sounds like RedTube, which is unfortunate. But I feel like that will resolve itself. But when I heard the name, I was like, why go with the word red? Why not go with something that indicates, prestige or whatever, like gold or silver? And it just occurred to me like those are kind of played out. And instead, you might say YouTube Black. But then it's like, oh, well, is that an ethnic thing? I don't understand, right? And then it occurred to me like red, absent the pornography imagery is not a bad thing to associate themselves with. Especially, and this is the curious part to me. I want to know if you noticed this at all. Like the problem is when I think of streaming awesome content that I can watch on my phone or device or whatever, and I see that big red logo, I ain't thinking of YouTube. I'm thinking of Netflix, and I wonder if that was an almost intentional thing, because what you usually see in branding is you see people fight over colors, and then they finally divide. One gets blue, one gets red. Pepsi, for years and years, was red, white, and blue on the can. They finally gave up, and they're like, fine, we'll take blue, jerks. And in various car logos, yellow belongs to Hertz, and red belongs to Avis, and budget has to be gold and blue. I wonder what this means if they're trying to assert dominance, because on one hand they don't really compete.
When you think of YouTube,
right?
There's also the red camera, right? That was like the onset of digital film. Right. So I when I hear YouTube Red, I'm more thinking of film for some reason. I know that they're not saying it's just movies.
Yeah.
But
the red camera,
right,
is an extremely high-end camera and
right,
so on.
So it kind of connects there.
Jaime, what do you think of as a consumer, though? Is this the kind of thing, and it's U.S. only right now, I know, but eventually they want to roll it out to other countries.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Well, it's a good question. I thought, I take the example of Hulu and their ad-free experience, which at the beginning I was very skeptical about, but I've enjoyed it a lot. I think that it is a very, increased experience from the regular one. So it's something that we have to see what's in there, but it's possible. But that ads basically becomes $30 for your viewing experience, right? Because you'll do 10 for Netflix, 10 for Hulu, and then now 10 for YouTube. So I know my kids will be crazy over all the Maker Studio stuff and
so
stuff.
Here's an interesting question: is you don't usually worry about, let's say, for example, for Hulu, every single device in your house can all be on the same Hulu account, right?
Right.
Now, whether or not all of them could be used simultaneously based on whatever, in general, if you have a household of 5 people, you're probably signed in on the same Hulu account for all of them.
Correct.
You do have profiles on Netflix for that kind of thing. However, YouTube is different. I don't like it when my wife is signed in as me surfing around on YouTube. And I especially don't want it. I don't want anyone surfing around or using my stuff when I'm logged in as the Scam School Show account.
Right.
This is going to be $10 per account, and you will have to decide as a family, I mean, is this right? I'm sure you're furiously.
I'm waiting for
Googling.
confirmation on this because one thing we kind of glossed over here is if you are a current Google Music subscriber, you get Red. Like as soon as Red launches, you have it. It's part of Google Music. You can be a family Google Music subscriber. Does that mean that everybody in your $15 a month family gets YouTube Red?
Well,
I would assume so.
But also like for example, the previously watched history, I use that all the time where I'm trying to remember like, oh, it's a funny the cat gets set on fire and then it gets kicked in the nuts. I saw it the other day.
No, I get it. I'm just saying. I think if you're signed up for Google Music as a family plan, then you're probably all going to get Red for your individual accounts that are signed up to that family plan.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't see how they can expect you know, as a family of 5 people with different, you know, likes and whatnot, to spend $50 on them. I'm pretty sure they're going to have to come up with a solution to either give you profiles or maybe you will go in with your account, but then access Red anyway, because it would be a totally horrible experience.
because the other thing that could happen is the Google Music family plan goes away.
Right.
Yeah, it would make sense for, well, and unfortunately, they're not branding it as a Google Family Music plan. They're branding it as just upgrade now to YouTube Red. Maybe when you do the upgrade, and we'll know this once it's, you know, consumers everywhere, it's like, welcome to YouTube Red. You could designate, oh, no, but you wouldn't, though, because then it's going to be just, you know, designate 5 friends to get it for free or something. Like,
Well, I mean, if you have Google, here's what I'm trying to say, and maybe I'm not making it clear. If you have Google Music already, you don't upgrade to YouTube Red. You get it. It just
Right.
happens. On October 28th, you're now part of YouTube Red. So if you have a family plan, and they've said, and again, I'm looking for clarification.
Right.
That would seem to imply that your $15 a month family plan.
well, and maybe I'm
everybody
not
gets
clear
Red.
on how much does it cost to have a Google Music account?
Yeah.
$15.
15 bucks?
And do you have different
15.
profiles or you don't?
Yeah. No, each you
Okay.
say like that Google account, and that Google account are part of my
So
family.
so it's going to be the same thing then. Basically, you're gonna
That's
you're
what
gonna
I'm
pick,
thinking.
or
Okay.
don't get Red, get music and family plan, and then designate you know, different accounts.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, but on October 28th, is my understanding is they all become the same thing.
So let's talk real quick about that content rundown of the exclusives. One of the things that I think is really smart is that they are playing to the base of the content creators. They are essentially bringing, you know, the ad-free experience is, I think, probably not worth the $10 a month just for that, but to eliminate all those barriers between people who love PewDiePie and PewDiePie himself, I think that is a play that Vessel was trying to go for earlier, in that they were like, hey, you love Rhett and Link, now get their stuff earlier and connect them better on Vessel. Full disclosure, Scam School has an agreement with Vessel, and also Dance On, which I compete on, has an agreement with Vessel.
You're doing really good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Fan favorite. We won fan favorite.
Yeah, congratulations.
Sorry. Anyway, but the important thing is that I think this does put the squeeze on Vessel. All of a sudden, Vessel becomes a much more difficult thing to sell. It does have its 7-day exclusivity, but certainly, you know, because they all had ad-free videos as well.
And all the stories about this are saying YouTube takes on Netflix, and which is true in a way. It's a subscription plan which also has originals, but it's an entirely different direction, right? You're talking Scare PewDiePie, which is produced by Robert Kirkman's Skybound and Entertainment and Maker Studios. You've got an untitled college humor project. You've got the Fine Brothers' Sing It, which is a satire of reality singing competitions. You've got Laser Team, Rooster Teeth and Fullscreen, teaming up on a sci-fi series. I think until we see it, it's hard to wrap your head around, like, this isn't the Fine Brothers kids react to. This isn't PewDiePie sit and play in a video game. Like, these are heavy duty, big budget productions on the, maybe not quite the level of a Netflix, but, you know, the level of a Bravo or an HGTV or more. And they're available to the audience that really loves these folks.
So here's what I think, and I'd be curious to get your opinion on this, Jaime.
Sure.
There was a conversation recently where somebody was explaining, again, all this changes. When I went out to do Dance On and we became roommates briefly, Tom, I was so blown away at the television level quality of production from beginning to end. Everything about this was totally pro. And, most people will view it on YouTube. And yet there's this implied increase in quality. YouTube, if somebody is pitching a thing, they're like, oh, yeah, no, I might take it online. And you're like, oh, like YouTube? They're like, no, like Hulu or Netflix. Right. And it's like as if those are suddenly elevated in status and quality. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big part of why they're developing YouTube Red, is because it's like, well, no, not YouTube. This is a YouTube Red exclusive. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. This elevates their properties, right? And all of these guys would have gone to do shows elsewhere.
Yeah.
But now they have a place to do it in YouTube. And I know. Again, my family, my kids will be all over this schedule, and it will look. It immediately becomes more legitimate, right? It's not a guy with a webcam. It's actually high quality production. I think it's a brilliant move. It's kind of vertical integration for them in that sense.
By the way, you think all of us thought that the iPad was a terrible name until it wasn't. Yeah. All of us think YouTube Red is a terrible name until it's not. I think it's probably a very clever name, and I suspect that it does convey enough of that AAA class experience that I think soon we'll forget about the fact that it sounds an awful lot like a porn site.
Red carpet, apparently.
Ah, that makes sense. Your place for premieres, the electricity of high-end production. Yeah, sure. I can see all that.
Now, look, some people may say, I want some of that YouTube original money. I want some of that Hulu money. That's not what we say. Brian and I say, we want some of your money.
Well, what we say is we're like, what do you got in your pockets? 50 cents? We'll take it. We'll take it. It's great.
That's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Cordkillers, of course, supported by 2,067 folks in the audience. And if you're willing to become one of them, we would love to have your 50 cents or $1 per episode.
Yeah, man. As a wise man once put it, $1 an episode, it's all we ask. And we're going to ask it too. And not even credit that wise man who said it, Dan Carlin.
He needs to put out more shows.
Yeah.
It just takes common sense.
I've been
that the hardcore history of Cordkillers has been supported by Patreon.
By the way, off the record, I hope I'm not talking out of school. I've been swapping texts with Dan Carlin, and you can kind of hear part of the reason that hardcore history is so great is because he's sort of riddled with self-doubt, and he insists on calling himself a fan of history, not a historian. But it's like all of that is just worn on his shoulders, off or on stage. He's just as neurotic as the rest of us,
and he makes such good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I could feel the mud. That as I was in the trenches.
Oh, dude,
I was in the freaking trenches.
In the World War I episode of Hardcore History, and in fact, when we watched Peaky Blinders for the on Netflix, there's that moment when it's like a throwaway line. The guy thinks he's about to get killed, and he was like, "Just don't bury me in the mud." Yeah. And it's like that had weight and gravitas because I spent time there.
Totally. So I guess what we're saying is, we hope you have $2, one for Dan, and another one for Cordkillers. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's get to our signals intelligence.
Yeah.
Coming through the airwaves,
into
even
the
though
trenches,
it's probably coming through an Ethernet cable,
mud,
because it's about streaming. Hey, Canada, we like to give you good news on Cordkillers. We really do. And Netflix in Canada is going to get Star Wars: The Force Awakens for streaming first in the world in 2016. Why? Because here in the United States, Starz has the deal to get Netflix when it hits that out of the theater window. So it will come to Starz subscribers in the US. And that's because the deal that Disney has with Netflix doesn't start for movies that were released in 2015. So in 2016, all the Star Wars movies that come out from 2016 on will go to Netflix in the US. In Canada, the Disney deal with Netflix starts with 2015 titles. Hence, they get Star Wars Force Awakens before everyone else.
I have two unrelated facts to share. First of all, nobody will ever see this movie once it leaves the movie theater. They will only watch it in the movie theaters in the United States. Unrelatedly, I do want to disclose that I own this movie in this year's winter movie draft.
Wait, what? How? No, you're saying no one will ever watch this movie?
I'm doing a bit. I'm doing a bit. I'm saying everyone go see it in the theater and win me the game.
Oh, you're telling them not to not see it in the theater.
No, I'm saying that everybody will see it in the theater. It'll make all the money, and then I'll win. And by the time it goes to
But
Netflix,
Brian, you already won. Everybody already bought the freaking movie. You can't buy
all right,
any
well,
more
we'll talk.
tickets.
We'll save it for spoiler
Okay.
time, boys.
Okay.
There's never been a situation in the movie draft where someone was crowned the winner before the season started where it didn't work out.
Yep.
Hey, no, but I think this is it's mildly interesting on the licensing front of like, oh, well, that's weird the way those things work. Like, I guess the Roger Shaw deals or whatever that Disney had before just ended a little earlier than the Stars deal, and it'll be great for Stars to be like, hey, we've got this one for this year anyway. But it does point to the fact that that Disney Netflix deal, that was a good deal, Netflix.
Yes, it was, and it's kind of crazy how these deals work. For example, I have basically 2 Netflix accounts, Central American and U.S. account, and together it is amazing because there's some stuff that is not even on the U.S. Netflix, and some stuff is only in the international. But it seems unsustainable and crazy. They should slowly progress to theaters to streaming, and that's it. I think everything else is a waste.
I would say, too, that 8 months after Star Wars Force Awakens, it leaves theaters, Netflix Canada should probably beef up their servers.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I can't believe how short that window has gotten. I mean, that used to be how long you're looking at before, to hit rental maybe, and then to own, and then finally, Premiere, your HBO's had a lock on that stuff, and then I love the fact that it's moving so quickly now.
Right. Speaking of moving quickly, we're moving quickly to gear up. Because
I see what you did
there
there.
on this show.
See what you did there.
So slick. New Apple TV went on sale this morning, and it's selling. People are buying it. It's not like the iPhone where within minutes the shipping dates had pushed off to months. In fact, you could probably get it shipped before Halloween if you select expedited shipping. Don't be like me. And when you order yours, forget to change the shipping and see that it slipped to November 3rd and then think everybody had ordered it enough that it was shipping. No, you could still order it. At least you could an hour ago. And if you select expedited shipping, get it at least between October 31st and November 2nd is the window they get you, but I bet you get it October 31st. If you don't remember, 32 gigabyte available for $149, 64 gigabyte available for $199, or your local currency equivalent in 80 countries. And in Apple TV related news, the older Apple TV, the one that's out already right now, got CBS and NBC apps ahead of the SDK opening up. NBC, of course, is the one where you have to authenticate with an NBC account, so it's very similar to other apps that are already there, like from ABC and Fox. CBS is CBS All Access, so if you're a $6 a month All Access subscriber, you can now use the Apple TV.
How excited are you, Jaime, about the Apple TV?
Not as excited as I used to be. I think it's good, but again, the competitors like the Roku or the Fire Stick are wonderful. I think that at some point Apple ruled over every other box, but I think now. I don't know. $140 is more expensive than the Roku 3. They have to really make it much better experience for me to go even to that or even to the $199.
I have to say that buying television shows on iTunes just feels like a better experience. It feels more reliable. I've had some glitches here and there with Voodoo. I haven't really tried the M series service that you get from Roku, but I always get a pretty good experience from iTunes. So I tend to want to buy shows through iTunes and watch them on Apple TV. But that's about the only reason I go there. Everything else I watch on Roku if I'm between the two.
Well, and that I was all on board for the Apple TV when I heard the announcement, but it was the new Fire TV from Amazon is the one that has the ability to find the remote, right? The button on there that you just press and then
right.
remote.
Apple TV gets the Siri thing where
Yes.
you could say, find me a science fiction show starring Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And then it just does it, right? And we'll see how good that works.
Yeah, I'm paralyzed by choice, and you know what? I think maybe it's decided for me because I do tend to use the Amazon environment ecosystem more to buy content in. If you're waiting on your Apple TV, I think I'll get the upgraded Fire TV.
That's a good way to go. And the other thing about buying, I was going to say, I don't buy on Amazon, and the only reason is because that's Eileen's account. So it goes back to the thing you were talking about with like multiple accounts.
Yeah, well, and it's funny how a tiny thing makes a difference, and it's like I've got kids, and we got to find that dang remote.
Yeah. No, for me,
because Amazon's a perfectly legitimate opportunity for Roku. Go ahead, Jaime.
For me, is the Roku remote with the earphones. It solved the problem.
Nice.
I can watch TV all night.
Yeah, I mean, this is straight up classic Mad Men. It's like the good branding and advertising doesn't, they say sell the feature, not the benefit. The benefit is there's a place to plug your jack. The feature is you're able to watch TV while your wife sleeps.
Right.
The feature is there's a button to find the remote. The benefit is your kids will stop crying.
No, and there's a definite difference of the remotes. I don't know if this one is infrared like the other one, but the Bluetooth remote for the Roku is amazing. It could be anywhere. So I think all things being equal, it's about that. It's about if you like the buying experience, the show buying experience, and this is the box for you. But
and don't forget, you're going to get an SDK, you're going to get games,
right.
And that may matter to people who live in, again, the ecosystem, right? That might be something. You get this cool little touch screen with gesture controls on the remote. I'm going to hold out on making a definitive recommendation of Roku versus Apple TV until I've tried it out. And it would be great to have Brian get the Fire TV for that reason, so we can get that perspective in there as well. If you are the kind of person who's like, I'm getting the Apple TV. I love Apple. I love iTunes. I live in that universe. That's what I'm going to get. I'm excited about Siri. I'm excited about games. The only question remains, do you get 64 gigs or 32 gigs? And I say for most people, don't waste the $50. Just get 32 gigs. You don't want to store your movies on this thing.
Well, and you can re-download them as often as you want, right? Yeah.
That's my
Apple
question.
has this whole adaptive app ecosystem thing where it will optimize the apps that you do download so that they're available even if you have more apps than you have storage.
Right. So why do you need the 64? Okay, if you have like good bandwidth.
If you want to do a lot of games, I guess, or you want to store shows in case your internet goes out, I don't know.
Right. Or maybe with big launches, they're gonna preload your box with them or something, so that servers are not overloaded, and maybe you'll have a better experience with the 64K.
It'd be cool if they did that.
Yep.
Okay. I ordered the 64 gigabyte.
And so what was the thinking behind that?
Because I knew Apple Music is coming with it, or Apple Music will be available, and if I can say, hey, keep my Apple Music library offline, I would really appreciate that.
There you go. That's a really good reason. That's a really good example of that.
And also
if
games.
You've got
I'll
a
probably
huge
game on
music
it.
collection.
Yeah.
All right. I got to admit, earlier this week, I was looking at Twitter, had Star Wars on the brain. I was finishing up Star Wars Aftermath over the weekend, reading a bunch of Star Wars comics, and I kept looking at Twitter and going, "Wow, is that a holocron? What is that? What is it? Is that Tolkien? No, it was the Arcana box. That thing's gorgeous.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So after it's been 3 years since we launched Scam Stuff. We call it Gear for the Modern Rogue, but we are announcing our first original deck of cards, and we came up with two versions. The card itself is called Arcana. There's a black version called Omega and a white version called Alpha. And we worked with artists. It's taken 10 months of revisions. It's gorgeous. But we wanted to, especially for limited edition collectors, we wanted something cool. Normally, it's like, you get a plastic doohickey and you get to pay 10 times as much for, Fallout, and we really wanted to make it precious. So we found an artist who makes these hand-assembled puzzle boxes, and we created this whole backstory, this mythos for it, where it's the idea is for limited time, and again, I apologize, we've already sold out of the first run. We are scrambling to make arrangements to get another run made in time for Christmas, so get it while you can at Scam Stuff. But it is a locked wooden mahogany puzzle box with exquisite art on the outside. Inside is 2 copies of the exclusive deck Alpha and Omega of Arcana, and a challenge coin that is individually numbered, limited release. The reason that the challenge coin is in there is because this is like a graduation experiment, because we're going to send you a puzzle box and we are not going to give you the password. You have to use your skills as a modern rogue of somebody who can try to solve puzzles. And in fact, Jaime was one of my first beta testers.
It might as well be a holocron. You have to have some secret ass knowledge to open this box. It took me almost an hour.
What's funny is
it was great.
Jaime did open it, and by the way, it's valid. There are many valid ways to open the box. Jaime ultimately never solved the puzzle. But he did rely on his skills of lock picking, and he was able to pick the lock, because we taught on Scam School how to open. Once you get it in your hands, you're able to identify it. You could probably figure out the right way to open it.
It's like a sorting hat.
It is a freaking sorting hat.
Oh, you go to that school.
Exactly.
It is a freaking sorting hat. Actually, by the time you open it, you think, a door to hell will open or something.
Yeah.
I just the box alone, not besides all the goodies inside, it's amazing and an excellent experience. And I will when I get mine, I will put my treasures in there, because nobody will be able to get it.
And by the way, T2T2 says, just take an axe to it. Duh. Hey, man, that's why it's a sorting hat. Guess what? Your class is barbarian. It turns out Jaime is a thief. It turns out that I'm a wizard. There's all different ways.
All right, folks, check it out at scamstuff.com. Let's march on down to the front lines.
Front lines.
Engadget has sources that say Time Warner Cable will start beta testing a version of its TV service for internet-only subscribers in New York City. Participants will supposedly get a free Roku 3 and be offered a $10 starter pack. Or for $20, they can get that starter pack with Showtime and Stars. So that might come in handy next year. And then there will be a version for $50 that includes Showtime, Stars, and all the normal cable channels that we get in a regular cable package. There are no DVR functions, but there is on demand, and there is the ability to stream on 4 devices at a time, according to Engadget sources. Time Warner currently has apps for Xbox, Android, iOS, Fan TV, Kindle Fire, Samsung Smart TVs, and it would work on all of those as well.
So, real quick, the prediction, success or not success, big splash, small splash. What do you think, Tom?
Won't launch.
What? You think
sources are wrong? That's my prediction.
Whoa! All right, fair enough. Man, okay, I can't beat that. So instead, I'll move forward. Pivotal Research Group found that TV viewing is stable. If you count all the devices, including game consoles and phones. TV viewing among 18 to 49-year-olds is up 0.3%. 2 to 17-year-olds down 0.2%, and over 50s are up 3%. Viewing on connected devices like Roku rose from 2% last year to 5% this year, which means, put that in perspective, it more than doubled. They do not count Netflix as traditional television. So keep in mind, all of Netflix's growth is on top of us watching the same amount of television. 18 to 49s with Netflix watch 5% less traditional TV, while those without Netflix watched 11% more. I mean, this looks like the same trends we've been tracking for 5 or 6 years now, right?
Yeah, the upshot here is there is no shortage of people watching television. And what Pivotal Research is trying to say is, hey, folks, there's a certain bucket of advertising money meant to reach people who watch television. There's plenty of people watching television. You just need to figure out how to get that money spent on the right things to reach those people, and everybody will be happy. All the rest is the pain of the transition.
This doesn't count YouTube, right?
Yeah, correct.
No, it doesn't count.
Wow.
Well, it does count Hulu because they're talking about traditional shows.
He said YouTube.
YouTube. Well, no, I know. It does count Hulu, right. But it doesn't count Netflix, doesn't count YouTube, doesn't count Voodoo, I don't think. Well, I guess unless you're watching regular shows. I'm not sure about that. But
basically, we're all watching more screens then because...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Sunday, Yahoo streamed an NFL game between the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yahoo got more than 33.6 million streams.
Holy crap!
Well, if you narrow that down to unique users, they got 15 million streams.
That still seems kind of like a lot.
Or if you want to know how many people are actually watching at any given moment, they got 2.3 million streams.
Well, I mean, that's the way live is. It's not like more would be on traditional television.
That's compared to an average simultaneous viewing of a broadcast NFL game of about 10 to 20 million streams.
Oh, so
here's the thing. They got 2.3 million people at any given time to be watching this. They are also streaming it when you were checking your Yahoo Mail. So I'm,
this is one of those. So basically, it sounds like they dipped into that naughty territory because I noticed YouTube is getting better hygiene about this. Whenever I open a browser with multiple tabs, one of the tabs, if I'm in incognito mode because I need to log in under a different account, it will open up the Scam School channel tab, and it used to autoplay the Welcome to Scam School thing. However, that I would assume, artificially skew it. Now, when those same 4 tabs come up, it's not until I click and see the tab that it starts to autoplay it. So whereas YouTube's hygiene is getting better and making sure that its views are real views, that business of like autoplaying while you're checking your email, that seems a little bit shady to me.
Yeah, I don't want to say it was autoplaying, but I think it was. I didn't experience it myself.
Okay.
The idea though is kind of interesting of a web property where you go to read news maybe or check your fantasy sports could have a channel playing. Sort of interesting, I guess, as long as you could not have it autoplay if you don't want to.
Sure. More Yahoo news. During its earnings call last week, Yahoo said it would write down about $42 million in costs from its video division based largely on 3 shows, including Community. Yahoo CFO Ken Goldman said Yahoo's management, quote, couldn't see a way to make money over time. Oh.
Remember we were talking about how there's lots of people watching TV?
Yeah.
Yahoo couldn't make a go of it with Community.
I think I want to listen to this week's Harmontown.
No, and I was big fan of Community. I felt like I was one of the people making it go the last season, and I couldn't watch all the shows on Yahoo. I don't know.
You couldn't get around to it, or couldn't?
I didn't. I watched the first 3. They were great, but then I kind of slowed down on it. I don't know if it was the format or what, but it's sad.
I almost feel like you needed to be paying for it.
Yeah.
To make you remember to go watch it. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
we
I
are
can
at
see
peak
that.
TV, too. Vice said on Thursday it plans to launch a television network in the United States and a dozen TV networks across Europe. Vice plans to buy networks in some locations and partner on joint ventures in other locations. No word on which will happen where, so we don't know what they're going to do in the U.S., for instance. The idea, though, is to buy networks on the cheap, leverage the content made there into mobile and online.
It could work. I know that Vice is a powerful brand, and to be honest, I'm surprised it took this long for them to get around to trying to establish.
And apparently, TV networks are troubled enough right now. You can pick them up on the cheap.
We saw that with Current TV turning into Al Jazeera America. I mean, go buddies. Apparently, old people are watching even more traditional television.
Well, it's the kind of thing that I'm like, why would you do that? But it's also kind of brilliant to say, look. We say cord cutting is happening, but it's not happening as fast as some people think it is. We say TV is dying, but music CDs are still dying, and you can still buy tons of CDs.
Yep.
Like, it's not dying as fast as everyone likes to pretend it is. If you've still got tens of millions of people watching on cable television and your Vice, why wouldn't you buy that and put your product in front of them and bring them over to mobile and online?
Right.
It's not going backwards. It's saying, hey, let's use that to move people towards where we know everyone's going to be eventually and keep them.
And a similar thing happened with radio, right? When high quality FM came on, people said AM is going to go away, but it actually pivoted into talk and sports and stuff like that.
And we see that with everything. It's very rare that a format completely dies. There are people who still love vinyl. There are still people who, and of course, CDs is the best example. I don't know that there are many cassette tape aficionados, but they're
8 tracks, yeah.
I mean, but even then, they stayed supportive. I mean, I don't know, Beta. Anyway, 4K is headed your way as Voodoo makes 12 movies in its catalog available for 4K viewing on Roku 4 with prices of $10 for a rental. Oh boy. And $25 to $30 to purchase. The offerings should be coming to other platforms like Vizio 4Ks soon. Man, that seems steep for that level of yes, I'm sure it is better than a Blu-ray. I don't know that it's,
Yeah, it's not meant for you. But
Yeah.
I think the significant thing here is, again, the people leading 4K content are online.
Yep.
We do not see DirecTV offered 6 channels of HD for, if I remember right, it was $10 or $15 a month extra on top of your bill. Totally not worth it. Way overpriced. But that was the first offering of HD that you could get.
Well,
I assume that cable companies and satellite companies have 4K offerings out there, but I don't hear anything about them.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like I remember every time you get a new gizmo, you got to have the thing that shows it off best. Right. Every single time I bought a new computer, I'd go to the demo scene and see if I could find whatever the coolest thing was.
It does feel, however, that with 1080, you kind of crossed kind of like a retina limit at some point. You just don't notice how much better. I imagine that this market is basically people who have installed the latest in their home theater and they just want to use their stuff. They want to use their
and again, for the record, we've talked about this before. Most of the time when you go to the movie theater, oftentimes they are only, I'm not going to say most, I'll say oftentimes when you go to the movie theater, that's not even in 4K. You're looking at 2K projections.
Right, and it's a huge screen.
DirecTV does offer 4K. You just need to make sure you get their 4K Genie HD DVR.
Wait. That's how much?
So in other words, you have to get a piece of equipment from them to make their 4K work.
Got it.
And you have to have a compatible television, with HDMI 2.0, et cetera, which that's true of the Rokus and stuff too. But
you guys want to see what's under surveillance?
Turn it over.
It's too late if you didn't. Sorry.
What is under surveillance? Well, this is all the stuff that we watch, and we do like to start with our guests. Jaime, anything? I know you've been working on a lot of stuff. You been able to watch any TV lately?
Actually, yeah. I've been watching Gotham, and we just had an interesting appearance of actor that played Vic Mackey.
Michael Chiklis.
Chiklis as the new commissioner, and he put together a strike team. I don't think it's going to go that well.
It's good to finally see him playing the commish.
Yes.
Did he add Shane Vendrell and Ronnie Gardocki?
I'm just waiting for them to come in.
That would be amazing. But also for those that didn't get the joke, that was Vic Mackey's original gig. He played the commish on the short-lived series.
Yeah. No, but Gotham is going to very interesting places. I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Excellent. Brian, what have you been up to?
Dude, playing catch up with you, buddy. I looked at your under surveillance and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I got to watch that too. I just went on a bender for 2 days and watched The Leftovers. The Shield, I ended up watching twice. I watched it, late at night and went to bed, and the next morning I was like, I think I want to get that whole thing again. And Man in the High Castle and Fargo. Man, I can't believe we're only on episode 2. It feels like we're way farther on that.
Of Fargo or Man in the High Castle?
Well, I guess of both, but certainly Fargo.
Okay. This is not spoilery for those who haven't watched The Shield. My favorite part of the episode that Brian and I watched was Michael Chiklis' character, Vic Mackey, calling Acevedo Dave. There's that one part where they're by the car. He's like, well, Dave.
Oh, my God.
It was just a weird kind of calling him something that's not normal as a bit of a rub, a bit of an insult.
Sure.
That I thought was one of the lighter moments. I don't do a lot of other things when it's time to take my brain off the hook except watch television, and it's fall season. So watched Bob's Burgers, a lot of Major League Baseball, watching it Fox Sports 1 games on the PlayStation Vue and TBS games on Sling TV, watching some Rugby World Cup either on pay-per-view or Universal Sports Television through Sling TV as well, watching Haven through from the Apple TV, Star Wars Rebels on Sling TV on demand, works really well. By the way, this week, for some reason, no commercials when I watched it on demand. They just took them out. So that was a bonus. Thanks for that.
Right on.
Walking Dead, Once Upon a Time, Last Man on Earth, most of that stuff on Hulu, except for Walking Dead, of course. Walking Dead, the one thing I will say, because I'll save the leftovers and S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff for spoiler in time, The Walking Dead, we were watching on PlayStation View because that has the DVR functionality and gives you the ability to pause, and you can't pause AMC on Sling TV. And then halfway through the episode, in the middle of a commercial break, thank goodness, PlayStation View just crashed. It was like, stream died. Not much we can do about it. Can't restart the app or anything. So thankfully, I am a Sling TV viewer, and I switched over to the Roku, and we watched the rest of the episode live. And thankfully, we're watching live. PlayStation View has done a couple of things like that. Kind of buggy sometimes.
Yeah, interesting. For those who don't know, by the way, Man in High Castle, we got the second episode only. They released. It was just over the weekend only. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
They had done this at Comic-Con back in the summer, and I guess Bryce was this just a promo for the upcoming series?
Yeah, I believe so. And actually, that was going to be my on the lookout.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was stumbling into that.
No, you're good.
We're doing it on purpose.
They released episode 2 because my guess is because the fall season is starting and all these other shows are premiering, including shows on Amazon. But this one is going to be another month. It'll be on November 20th. But if you don't know the premise of The Man in High Castle, it's based off the Philip K. Dick novel.
Yes.
Novel? Where at the end of World War II, the Allies lose, and America is taken over by Japan and Nazi Germany. And you follow different people who are playing on different sides of both the resistance and on the side of the Nazis, as they are fighting over these mysterious film reels that depict a strange America in which World War II was won by the Allies.
The Axis.
No, the Allies.
No, the Allies.
The Allies.
Oh, the film reels. Sorry,
film
I
reels,
got
yeah.
you.
Nice try, Merritt. Too
was
sharp
all
for
one
you.
by the Axis.
There's a lot of really interesting political intrigue, a lot of weird social negotiation going on between characters who don't necessarily trust each other. And it's really gorgeous. Episode 2 continues to be a very atmospheric, very stylized world that episode 1 set up. And I'm really looking forward to the season.
This is not spoilery because it's, but one of my favorite things about this, and again, we'll talk about the episode itself in spoiler in time, but I absolutely love the fact that this is not a movie about, or television show about America sticking it to those guys. You know, Germany and Japan, it's not like they won as a big happy family. They carved up the country and there's a big neutral zone. This is really about the brewing war between Japan and Germany.
Yeah.
And just happens to be in the United States with a few bit players and a little bit of fantasy elements in there.
It's very interesting to me when I read it. I always found myself more sympathetic to the Japanese side than the German side, which is very strange. And I'm loving what they're doing with it because I think they're not taking anything away from the novel. They're actually enhancing it and making more of it, and that's good.
And they're really representing that B plot very well in the first 2 episodes so far. I mean, you get just as much B plot of Frank, who is
Careful.
Yeah, let's say
brother.
Tread lightly.
I think it's good to say they're doing a good job with the B plot.
There you go.
Yes.
And you should read the book, people. It is different. I think that's the one thing we can say. I think Jaime is absolutely right. Ridley Scott is involved in this, and frankly, I feel like after these 2 episodes, it is a very similar feeling to Blade Runner, where it's like, yeah, this is not the book made into a video property, but it's certainly true to the spirit of some of the best elements of the book.
I'm not going to do it. I won't read the book because I don't want to be spoiled, for the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Don't ever read the book then. That's all I was just saying. You should read the book.
No, it's
that's fine.
I mean, I will once the series has ended, and it will be a delightful revisiting.
That's what I'm saying.
There is in most of Philip K. Dick's stuff. There's this element of unreality towards you don't really know at some point in the story you don't know if what the character's experience is real or not. And I think that in most of the movies inspired by him have not done that. They've actually been very settled in reality. And I think that this fuzziness is wonderful. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Let's get to some dispatches from the front before we stray into spoiler time territory.
Yeah, dude. Man, yeah, clearly we're excited to talk about the content.
We got a new comment from Hornikopoulos on Cordkillers 92, Netflix and Chips, that episode. He said, or she said, Tom mentioned his new chipped cards number didn't change. We're talking about Netflix blaming part of their subscriber slowdown on chipped cards. He said, yeah, your chips number didn't change, but your card's CVV code should have. When I activated my new card a few months ago, I couldn't figure out for the next week why the card was working some of the time and other times it didn't. It didn't click that the only time it wasn't working was when I was paying online through saved information. Without updating that new CVV code from the back of the card, the Netflix plans wouldn't renew even if the card number was unchanged.
Yeah, I believe that. And in fact, I almost wanted to say something similar at the time, but I didn't. And now someone else looks smarter than me. Way to go, jerk.
But that explains something where you would continue to be charged monthly even when the card number changed. But at subscription time, they require you to reconfirm some of that security information. They don't require it on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, remember that time there was that guy that stopped you at that Ralph's to say Tom Merritt? Yeah, he wrote in. And unfortunately I didn't copy his name over because I suck. But he says last week's show we were all talking about how close the NFL might be to running their own distribution and putting their games online. He said I'd love it if this were true, but the economics might not pan out in the NFL's favor. I said flavor. There we go, and now the window's open again. Currently, the NFL is making roughly $6 billion a year from CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN. ESPN is about $2 billion of that. Direct Sunday tickets, another $1 billion for rights to games. He says, and they've signed these deals to last until 2022, right? So if the networks decided not to renew the deals when they're up because the NFL wants to stream games online, they're going to have a hard time making the same kind of money because think about it, $6 billion a year, that's 20 million subscribers paying $25 a month. To put it in perspective, Netflix is what? Still under 5, right around 5 million subscribers? Or to hit that same number, it would take 50 million subscribers paying $10 a month, which is closer to what people are spending for Netflix. He says this doesn't include infrastructure of networks or cost to have others host, not to mention marketing, customer service, etc. And he goes on to speculate, give it another bunch of wonderful stuff. It's James is his name.
Thank you, James, and good to see you at Ralph's that day. He makes a good point. My reaction to this is, yes, but how does CBS, Fox, and NBC, and ESPN, all of them, make their money to make it worth it to pay the NFL? And so the whole question is, can the NFL sell those ads and make that money? Because don't forget, those people are paying $50 a month to watch out-of-market NFL games with advertisements. If you come to them and say, hey, guess what? It's $25 a month and it's got in-market games, they will flock to it, and you'll still be able to sell advertising. So it's not he's absolutely right. It's not a turnkey solution. There's a lot of infrastructure. You have to have those sales teams, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why they're willing to have these partnerships all the way through 2022. But I do think that is the direction those sports franchises are going. And the MLB's leading the way, saying, yeah, you make a network, so you learn how a network operates and you build up a sales team and you figure out how to, and the MLB network already does games specifically on MLB Network. They had a couple of playoff games this year, and they've been doing that. So I still think that's where they're going. They just want to make all the money because it actually will cost less than contracting it out to the networks.
Right on, man. I think everything you said makes a lot of sense. I'm very curious. I mean, I agree. It's this is the story of Cordkillers, man. Is wow, things really could be different, but they sure do seem to be staying the same.
Mike wanted to point out this weekend's report on Box Office Mojo, where the author notes that the latest movie in the Paranormal Activity series did have a weak opening in the box office, but it's also using a strategy with video on demand. He noted that once the movie is playing on less than 300 theaters, or fewer than 300 theaters, it'll be available for video on demand with theater approval for this. That was the deal from the beginning. In exchange, participating theaters receive a cut of the VOD profits. Wow. This approach shortens the theatrical window, and I'm curious how it will be accepted by studios, theaters, and viewers.
This really is, or could be, best of both worlds because, we had some experiments with day-and-date release in the movie theaters and at home, and the theaters are obviously terrified because they need butts and seats in order to sell popcorn. Remember, they don't make money on the releases; they make money on those theater, which is why when a movie bombs, they get it out the hell as fast as they can. But by having the trigger be, hey man, we'll only start selling it, showing it online once you guys decide you don't want to show it anymore, and we'll start giving you free money for literally doing nothing, for freeing up your space and using it in more valuable real estate. We'll cut you a check. That could be a pretty huge solution on that.
It makes perfect sense. It makes partners of enemies, right? And also you get basically the on-demand stuff gets advertising at the theater with all the promotion and whatnot.
Yeah.
Box Office Mojo points out that Paranormal Activity opened on fewer theaters than Paramount expected, which is going to throw off this test. But maybe that's just something that needs to be worked out over time and wouldn't be a problem on other movies. Who knows?
Yeah. Chris writes in, we were talking about whether something is betting or not betting and so on. And Chris writes that horse racing and fantasy sports, as I understand it, are examples of parimutuel betting. The idea is that betting or the house can't influence the odds. And he links to a fantastic Reddit thread that we'll make sure to put in the show notes so that you can dive into all that. He says, technically, Hearthstone, poker, and sports are not gambling in a way that can influence the game as long as the teams aren't involved in or make money on the bets. So it seems a bit arbitrary. The counter of this is that when this much money is involved, you have human beings who might be influenced or corrupted, and which is the difference when you're betting on the ponies the whole can of worms. Anyway, it was a fascinating read. Thank you very much, Chris. And he mentions that the NBA commissioner is pro betting. And he gives an article on that, which I'm sure you can find online.
And then we got a bunch of people writing in saying, "Hey, Brian, go for that 4K monitor." And others saying, "Brian, don't go for that 4K monitor yet. Wait for 60 frames per second." And then a lot of people like, the standards are all up in the air. It's crazy. All of this to me, Brian, sounds like what we were saying, which is it's still early adopter days for 4K.
Yep.
It's just that we're starting to get closer to the point where it won't be.
Yep. I agree. We got one more email. A bunch of people chimed in asking or with suggestions of what we should watch once we finished our archive experience of The Shield. And it's interesting because it's clear that we have a lot of new fans, people who didn't know that we've already watched and covered Breaking Bad, Lost, Fringe, parts of Fringe. Somebody suggested The Wire. And
I actually thought of The Wire as like a rewatch option, but it would be a rewatch option. We both watched it.
Yeah. But out of everything I saw, people suggested Buffy, Blake Seven, Justified, The Unit, Person of Interest, Burn Notice, White Collar. I rather liked the idea of doing Justified because I heard it got so good near the end, but you watched all of it, right?
No, I haven't watched Justified at all.
What? You haven't watched Justified at all?
No.
I thought you were on the hype train.
No.
Oh, shoot. I think we may have a winner because it's got Walton Goggins in it.
Yeah, but isn't it just like, more Shield? Like, I'm not saying that's bad, but I kind of want to change it. Change of flavor.
We'll save it for spoiler time. We could discuss it then. But
why is that spoilery? Like, I haven't watched Justified. You're saying it's a procedural investigative cop drama, right?
No. That's just it. Is that it starts off procedural and then kind of drops it after the first season. And because I washed out the first season.
I mean, that's The Shield.
I know.
In other words, it's a cop drama.
Okay.
I'm saying I might prefer to get another flavor, which is not about the police, not about murders, not about mysteries, not about detectives.
It has.
Could we go to space, or could we, I don't know, something entirely different? It sounds like Justified is. Maybe I'm entirely wrong, but it sounds like Justified is in the general same arena of Sons of Anarchy, Longmire, The Shield, like.
Yes and no. I find Justified very. It's not similar, but it's kind of connected to Dark Tower in a way.
Okay.
There is a that kind of vibe kind of thing, and there's also changes in time, like you see societal changes in that region of Tennessee. It's really interesting. I found it fascinating.
Oh man, let's let the riot commence at cordkillers@gmail.com. and let you direct all of your adoration to Jaime, where people can reach you where?
At Tensor Guy in Twitter, and pretty soon, not just yet, at holovect.com. Holovect, HOLOVECT.com.
What is that?
Holovect. Wow, that sounds like some science fiction stuff right there.
You guys will be the first to know. Let's put it that
All
way.
right,
And check it soon. It's going to be live, but interesting things.
Man, Holovect.
Hey, folks, we have a new CDN on DCTV, which streams our show live. What do all those letters mean? Better video. And also, you can get alerts when we go live. Go to diamondclub.tv, register for an account, and you can set what shows you want to get text message notifications for. It could not just be Cordkillers. Could be Night Attack. Could be all kinds of things on Diamond Club TV once they go live. So check it out, diamondclub.tv. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on the diamondclub.tv I just mentioned, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll spoil you soon.
Hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
Let's go.
up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.